Good morning and welcome to ATN Blowout. Blowout is a syndicated live program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversation on special interest topics, news, events and stories through correspondence reports, experts' opinion, and stakeholders' analysis. Today, we'll be looking at these stories. Akwa Ibom community decries sleepless nights due to gas flare-up. In Ondo State, APC Congress turns bloody. Gunmen shoot chairman's brother. Plateau State, scores killed as explosion rocks mining community. E-transmission of results can't replace manual, and this is coming from President Tinubu. Alake closes mining site over Plateau village's death. And in diplomatic relations, envoy states reasons behind Turkey's interest in Nigeria. We are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on X, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. We're going for a commercial break. When I return, I will introduce my guest for today. Welcome back and still on ATN Blowout. Joining me today in the studio is none other than a regular face on Blowout. He goes by the name Samuel Woji, and he is a public affairs analyst as well as an educationist. Good morning, Samuel.
Good morning, T. How are you?
I'm okay. How about you?
I'm good.
Okay. I mean, the way you're sounding, somebody will think you'll be a better person.
Yeah, I'll be a better person.
Until situation changes. Anyway, let's get right into today's business. Ikat Ebidang, host of the oil and gas company National Natural Oilfield Service, has raised the alarm over destruction of the environment, poor crop yield, and poor health outcomes due to fossil fuel extraction. Aside from the smell of the noxious gas discharge that hits anyone who enters the community, the tumultuous sounds from the gas flare sites have sacked some residents and rendered those who do not have alternative homes sleepless. Speaking during a dialogue on renewable energy, the people decried the destruction of aquatic ecosystems, farm crops, as well as heat and skin rashes, which have become very common. The dialogue was facilitated by the Health of Mother Earth Foundation and Peace Point Development Foundation over the weekend. To this end, people of the Ikot Ibidang have called for the renegotiation of the MOU granting the company access to their community to adequately address concerns around pollution and environmental harm. It's quite sad. Other than the sleepless nights, I'm more concerned of the aquatic life being, poisoned, and then the people also having health concerns due to the gas flare-up in that region. What would you say to policies that allows for some of these flare-ups to be situated very close to communities or close to residential homes? What do you have to say about these policies, Samuel?
Okay, I would say that there needs to be a reconfiguration of these policies to ensure that the interests of the people and the environment are captured. As Africans and as Nigerians, we have always fared through our environment, through our economic activities, farming, fishing, and what have you. And beyond that, for some communities, our environment, bears more than just economic value. There also some, not some, there's cultural value, traditional value, invested in our environment that, communities, so some communities pay obeisance to. So I think that there should be, policymakers should sit down, look at, the access being granted to communities and try to see how they can be able to protect the environments that the people stay in. Because if this is allowed to continue, it will erode the traditional systems that have been set in place, and it also erode our cultural values as well as our traditional means of earning a living. So yeah, I think that there should be a way to accommodate the wishes of the people, the needs of the people in those policies to ensure that we can still survive as a people, while contributing to the national growth and development of the nation.
But do we need to wait until the people come out to complain about the downside to these operations to the people? When they were signing this MOU with the government, the state government and what's not, shouldn't there have been some considerations to how the operations can affect the quality of life of the people there, our environment, or the environment of where these gas companies is being situated, and all the negative influences that comes with setting up such a structure in those communities?
Well, Tonya, you see, there's something called host communities. And host communities are the communities in which those activities are domiciled. Now, when in MOU and things like this, the host community representatives are usually there. And the truth is, in life, no one can give you what you do not ask for. That's the truth. No one would give what you do not ask for. So it's the onus is largely on the host communities to demand for these things, right? Let's say maybe due to certain factors that are not before us, they were not able to demand for these things as of when the MOU was being signed, right? I think that today is not too late for them to be able to demand for those things. There's another say whenever a man wakes up, that's his morning. So even if you wake up in the evening, it's your morning. So if the people have decided that they no longer want these things to be prevalent in their region, but I think we should encourage them to demand for what is due them. Yeah,
but in situations whereby, like you said, these communities, these host communities have representatives, right, who are to be present when the MOU is being signed. But sometimes these people are not able to see far ahead. They are more interested in whatever benefits is being promised to them at that time, and then are ignorant of the harm these operations can cause to them. So in that situation, in that instance, shouldn't the state government or the federal government or whoever is facilitating that MOU put that in their policies to ensure that the people's well-being and welfare are being protected?
Like I said, Tonya, no one will give you what you did not ask for. And the MOU, there are no similar MOUs. The MOU of a host community and a company is different from that of another one. There's no singular MOU. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. There's no singular MOU, right? There are variations, there are differences, which is peculiar to the environment. Now, when you say, I usually say that a society is leaders of a society leaders are a reflection of the society they find themselves, right? Now, in times like this, it's pertinent that you send in your best, right? Even if as a representative you're not aware of what the facts or there are certain things that are oblivious to you, you consult. There are people within the community that should have sufficient knowledge of what's going on. You consult with them to be able to, bring about ideas and agitate for inclusion of policies that will be favorable to you. That's the smart thing to do, right? Because the effects or the impacts of whatever is happening in your region will be effects on you and your people first, before it gets to the local government, state government, and the federal government. So there's a need for you to ensure that you impute clauses that will adequately protect you, from whatever side effects that will happen as a result of those activities. And if you're not aware of the facts of the case, or there are certain factors that are confusing to you, you consult. There should be people within your community that have the wherewithal, to be able to look at the document, analyze it, and advocate for policies that will be beneficial to you. And even if there's nobody within your community that has that foresight, you can consult outside. There are people you could, lawyers and what have you, environmentalists and all that, firms you could consult, seek for their advice, and they will advise you appropriately. So the state governments, the communities are different with different needs. There are variations, of MOUs and whatnot. So I still believe that it is really up to the host communities, to determine how best they can be able to accommodate, the companies that are domiciled in their region. That's my honest opinion, really. We will try to see how we can be able to shift responsibilities. We won't be able to hit the nail on the head. It gets me. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Let's move on quickly to Ondo State. Fresh violence broke out on Wednesday during the Ward and Local Government Congress of the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State, leaving several people injured and many dead. The crisis occurred in Indanre local government area. It involved an attack on Engineer Raphael Adetimehin, the younger brother of the APC chairman in the state, Adetimehin. Reports from the community said armed men stormed the area and opened fire during the political exercise. The attackers allegedly mistook Raphael Adetimehin for the APC chairman because of their close resemblance. Confirming the incident, the party chairman said his brother was brutally assaulted and left unconscious. He disclosed that the assailants first shot at him. When the bullets did not kill him, they used machetes and other sharp weapons on him repeatedly. Eyewitnesses said the violence did not stop with one victim. At least 4 other people were reportedly killed in different parts of the town as gunshots rang out and vehicles were set on fire. Several residents fled their homes in fear as chaos spread across Indanre. First of all, my heart goes out to the people of Ondo State, and I pray that those injured will make a full recovery. My heart also goes out to the chairman of the APC in that state. Samuel, the elections, we are obviously in the election period, and then it's quite unfortunate that whenever elections is due in Nigeria, we see cases of violence and whatnot. However, this is the APC Congress, so which means that it's not even different political parties fighting. It's like different factions in the APC in those states that is fighting. Would one say that this is setting the pace of how our 2027 elections is going to look like, especially with what's happening right now with our electoral reform?
Well, when I saw the news and I went through the comments, I read the reportage and all that, the people over there were alleging that it was a rival party that were coming to, do whatnot, and not some factions of the APC. I don't.
But that's, you said from the comments, but from the actual reportage from relevant papers, they said there's different factions within the APC. So
I'm not aware of a faction in the APC in Ondo State.
Okay.
I don't think, I might be wrong, but I don't think that there's a faction, of the APC in Ondo State. Okay. And from what you had reported here, there was no use of factional chairman. The word factional chairman was not there.
Yeah, but the chairman was the main target.
That's what I'm saying.
And this is an APC Congress,
so... No, you see, there's this kind of primitive politics that some people play, or some persons play. I've seen it over time in River State. If a party is doing a meeting in a place where the other party feels they hold more sway, sometimes they send talks to disrupt the meeting, regardless of how simple, or how irrelevant the meeting may be, as a sort of show of strength. And that has happened, in our political system, over time. And I think that's what's playing there. Okay. I'm not aware. I don't know, but I'm not aware. I follow up the news. I follow up news reports, but I don't think that there's a faction of the APC in those states. And the incumbent governor is an APC governor, right? I don't think he's in a struggle with leadership with anybody in those states. I think that he's the leader. The leader of the APC in the state. I don't think he's battling for supremacy with anybody like what you see in some states, which we give birth to those factions you're talking about, right? So if his position as a leader of APC in the state is not in contention, then I don't see the need for factions.
Okay.
Right? So I think that what happened was perpetrated by criminal elements to disrupt the peaceful process that was ongoing. That's my take. So
you think that it's a rival party that is trying to disrupt the activities of the APC in that state? Because from the news reportage, it's different, not just in that ward, different wards as well, especially in Ondo states where the APC Congress was being held. So different parts of that state were attacked as well. So could this be a rival party trying to disrupt the activities of the APC Congress?
Well, first of all, the APC is a party. What was ongoing is a party affair. So it might not necessarily be a rival party, but then I think that it's a different political interest. I would want to limit it to a political party, because what happened was a political affair, and of course the disruption of it really makes sense to a politician. So I think that it's a person, a group of persons with vested interest in the state, that try to disrupt the process. That's my take.
Okay, so now linking this to our current predicaments with our electoral reform, where we've seen people, hoodlums, criminals try to overtake electoral process. Some of them taking ballot boxes and running away with it, threatening harm on people that try to stop them and what's not. Wouldn't you say that should we have allowed the manual e-transmission of results, most of these unfortunate incidents could be curbed in the now, because they know very well that they cannot go and then steal the technology being used for the e-transmission of the result. Like, they can't do anything about it. They cannot manipulate the results and what's not. So sometimes, because Amechi had rightfully pointed out that allowing for the e-transmission of results could help save lives. And looking at what happened in Ondo State, would you say he actually was right in his assessments?
Well, first of all, what happened in Ondo State was an internal party affair. And when you look at the
But you said it's not an internal party affair since there's no factions within the APC in Ondo State. So it could be maybe other rival party or rival politician, whoever. It's not an internal affair.
You're misquoting me.
Okay, please.
The Congress itself is an internal party affair. That's what I meant.
Okay.
The conflict, there is no internal conflict.
Okay.
You understand? The process itself is an internal party affair.
Okay.
Yeah? But the conflict is not an internal conflict. I don't think there's an internal conflict.
Okay.
If there was, we would have heard about it. It would have been all over the news with, you know, the various figureheads that are fighting for supremacy. So the Congresses are an internal party affair, but there's no internal party conflict. So the process was expected to go smoothly, you know, owing to the fact that there's a leader, you know, in all those states that everybody recognizes, which is the current governor of the state. You understand me? Now, coming back to your question, it's not. I don't think that the cases, you know, the link you're trying to draw up here is comparable, because one has to do with, you know, different political groups fighting for or trying to, you know, get the victory, and then one has to do with, you know, the party, you know, carrying out this process in line with its the provisions of its constitutions. And if you look at the aim of what the talks are trying to do, the talks are not trying to hijack ballot boxes. They're just trying to, you know, disrupt the process. It's just, to me, I feel that, like I said, that what's happening in those states was a show of, what are they calling it, a show of might, you know, by different political interests. Because look at there was no reports of taking ballot boxes. They just went there to maim people. The chairman was a target, and I think the day before the chairman was attacked, his vehicle was shot at. You know, so I mean, you have to look at, you know, what's going on, and you can see that there's no underlying motive, you know, to either hijack the process and produce a candidate, right? There's nothing of such. The objective of these talks is just to go there, kill and destroy, you know. So it's not comparable.
But
so
wouldn't you say it's much worse? Because if this is an internal process that has led to the loss of lives, and then also many others injured, what will be the outcome of a general elections involving the whole of Nigeria, where different parties are vying for the #1 position in the country? Wouldn't you say that at least in that instance, the interest is way more heavier than what's happening in those states? And if they went there strictly to assassinate and cause harm to individuals, not minding the electoral process or the Congress that they're having, what would you say about different parties vying for #1 positions in Nigeria, and then looking at what is at stake? Wouldn't it be much worse then? It may not be comparable, but it could be much, much worse. A situation where the e-transmission of results can actually help solve drastically.
You know, when you're talking about this e-transmission of a thing, the e-transmission of a thing is embedded in the Electoral Act. The problem is that there's a clause. That's what we're getting it wrong. The e-transmission of a thing was embedded in the Act. The clause is, in the case where network doesn't go through, network fails, it should be done manually. And when you look at the realities of Nigeria, like I keep saying, when you look at the realities of Nigeria, there's bad network almost everywhere. So if, okay, let's say for example that some places have sufficient network to be able to pull through, and some places does not have sufficient network for, you know, it to be able to pass into, for it to be able to pass into, for it to be able to be transmitted. What should happen then? Their vote should not be counted, because I'll be very disappointed. Maybe I go and I cast in my vote for a candidate, and then, you know, due to network glitches and what have you, it doesn't go through. I'll be very disappointed, right? So we should be able to compare both scenarios side by side. What the Senate did was two-factor authentication, electronic transmission. If it doesn't go through, do it manually to ensure that votes are being collected. And to me, I think that's the best approach they could use, you know, which is in tune with our realities. That's it. Okay.
Well, I have two ways to counter this. The first one is that we've had our telecommunications come out and say that they are more than capable of handling the internet problems that may arise. They're saying that we have, even in the most rural parts of Nigeria, we have 2G, we have 3G, we have 4G, we have 5G. There's no way that there would not be internet, or there could be internet disruptions. But then again, like you said, that's also debatable. So let's leave that one aside. Now, Nigeria's current election technology does not even require internet in the first place to operate. Are you aware of that? There does not even need internet at all to operate. So if the debate is based on the fact that there could be network failure, this technology does not even need network in the first place. It can work without network. So then again, what is the excuse? Why are we not? Why don't we want to use the technology to run our elections, if not for selfish interests?
Listen, when you say the technology does not need internet, when you record these, what are they calling it? The numbers, the figures, you record them in the BIOS, right? Taking them into the BIOS system does not need internet, but they need to transmit them. That's transmission now. That's why you need network.
Okay, and then they are saying, our network providers are saying that they can do that. It's an excuse. So are you trying to say that? Are we undermining our telecommunications here in Nigeria? Are we undermining them to the rest of the world, that they cannot do the job that it's needed?
So
these are incredible elections.
The network companies you're talking about are businessmen and women. These are business corporations with the view of making profits, right? So the best point or the best way to find out who is telling the truth or who is lying is by going to those places, those rural areas where you see that there's network. So I'll take it. There's some place I'll take you to in River State. You won't be able to access your WhatsApp. I'm not even kidding. As insignificant as not insignificant anyway. Sorry for that. But as easy as it is to access WhatsApp in the urban area, if I take you to those places, you'll be able to access it. In fact, there's a place I know. I don't want to mention the name anyway. But there's a place I know. There's a community in River State. You can only get access to internet from a point. Like from a particular point, from a particular compound. If you're not in that compound, you won't be able to access the internet. I'm not even kidding. If you want, maybe after I'll tell you the names of the communities, and possibly in your free time, you call me. I'll take you there, and you tell this story yourself. Now this is River State. River State, which is supposed to be, or which is supposedly one of the most advanced states in Nigeria. Now how about some community states that are not as urbanized as River State, and then the rural communities in those states? What will we do then? And then you have to also look at the pressure, on presiding officers at the polling units, right? Imagine you're in a situation where you're a presiding officer of a particular polling unit. There's pressure on you to transmit results, and then the network is not moving. You might be lynched. They'll think you're playing tricks. So the Electoral Act is taking into consideration all these realities, and regardless of how sweet the agitations may seem, these are the realities of Nigerians. Regardless of how sweet those of them agitating for real-time transmission as the only option to transmission of results, these are the realities of this network issue. Is a reality of Nigerians across different rural areas in the states. So anybody that tells you that a network is functional here, the person is not saying the truth. That person is not saying the truth. Even in communities that are a bit developed, here in River State, they have network issues. I'm giving you an example of River State because this is my state. I was born here. I've spent years here. So I'm giving you an example of River State. This is my state. I'm an indigenous of this state. So I've moved around a lot. There are communities I will take you to here that looks urbanized. Not looks urbanized, that is urbanized to an extent that is heavy migration. They have network issues, my dear. Serious network issues. So anybody agitation for real transmission is not being realistic. The person is not being realistic. I don't want to go about the whole hacking thing because that's a given.
Okay.
Even, I don't know if you saw the recent statement by Donald Trump advising governors to focus on to do conduct elections manually in the states. Did you see it? Now, Donald Trump, the real Donald Trump, the head of the world's arguably most tech-savvy nation, is advising for a manual route. Somebody that controls one of the most formidable military intelligence agency in the world, the Central Intelligence Agency, as well as other intelligence agencies that are tech-savvy, is advising his subordinates to, toe the manual line. I mean, they have more information than us. They have more information than us when it comes to tech. And he's saying we shouldn't do it this way, we should do it this way. And what he's rejecting, or what they are rejecting as the most tech-savvy nation, is what we should accept. Come on now.
But this tech-savvy nation is reliant heavily on technology in their status quo. So are you going to say that we should, instead of really looking at our personal interests or the people's needs and whatnot, we should put the advice of Donald Trump ahead of the people's needs?
Well,
the same country is not
advising Nigerians.
What's he doing then?
He's advising his people that they should not,
No, but you're saying that we should take Donald Trump's advice and then use here in Nigeria. And I'm saying
we should consider it because, like you said, America is the most. You accepted just that. You said it's the most technology administration in the world, right? And they're saying that in this instance, they don't want to use technology.
Why do you want to use technology?
Exactly. And you're saying we should not consider that?
Have you wondered why he may not want to use technology?
Exactly! That is why!
I'm asking you, why is that? Which is why? Because you can't tell me that in the United States, they want to have internet connectivity.
Good.
Obviously, they have internet connectivity.
Good.
And our reason for rejecting the e-transmission of it is because we do not have strong internet connectivity, right? But the United States has strong internet connectivity. But Donald Trump is asking them not to use technology. Why is that?
I don't know.
We don't know. You're advocating for I
don't know why Donald Trump advises his people not to move. I don't know that. But what I'm saying is that...
So why should we take advice when we do not even know where advice is coming from? Whatever interest that will work to his benefits and his benefit of Americans.
I'm saying it should be considered.
Why should it be considered? I'm asking you, why should it be considered?
A country that relies heavily on technology.
A country that relies heavily on technology, that has strong internet connectivity, is asking us to go, it's asking this country to use the manual way of conducting elections. The same Donald Trump, whose re-election was called into question because apparently there were some external forces involved in his re-election.
Is that re-election has not been called into question?
Okay, let's do that. My point is this.
Are you accusing the president of the United States of something?
No, you're not going to put me in my spot. My point is this.
If you're accusing the president of the United States of something, you should not be
standing here and then put words into my mouth. I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you questions to that. Then you try to deflect that and then you shoot shots at me. It says a lot about you and less about me.
I'm not saying anything like that. Don't do that. No, don't do that.
Over 30 people have been suspected dead as an explosion rocks a mining site at Kampani, Zurak Wasi local government area of Plateau State. The state government has commiserated with the families of those who died and called for an investigation into the incident. The State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Joyce Ramnap, who confirmed the development, said the explosion caused by a suspected gas leak killed at least 33 persons who were inside the mining tunnel, while others sustained injuries and are currently receiving treatment in nearby hospitals. She appealed to all relevant federal and state agencies responsible for mining regulation, safety enforcement, and disaster response to urgently intervene, conduct a thorough investigation into the cause of the explosion, and ensure that appropriate safety standards are strictly enforced to prevent further occurrences. The Commissioner noted that the Minister of Environment, Blowout, has reached out to Governor Caleb and has directed the immediate and total shutdown of mining activities in the affected area pending further investigations. So what do you have to say about this? The mine in that vicinity has been shut down by the federal government due to what has happened, what has transpired. A situation that unfortunately could have been prevented, but 33 people lost their lives due to gas explosion, due to the inadequate regulation of the mining sector in the northern parts of Nigeria.
Well, what I would say is that there needs to be, these places needs to be given attention, more attention rather. The mining contributes its own quota to the growth of the national economy, and as such should not be taken for, should not be taken to be a child's play, and it should not be treated with light gloves. It's unfortunate that 30 people lost their lives, and my heart goes out to their families, and I pray that God gives them the fortitude to bear this irreplaceable loss. And I also urge that more steps should be taken, to prevent the reoccurrence of this episode. Because every Nigerian life to me is important. Every single Nigerian life is important, and I don't think that it's a palatable news or it's a good news that Nigerians are losing their lives, while trying to earn a living. So I think that there should be more efforts, to ensure that something like this does not repeat itself, not just in that mine, but in any mine across, the northern parts and beyond it. That's my take.
Okay. Prior to this, the northern governors had come out and asked the Minister of Resources to shut down mining activities in the northern parts because it contributed to some of the happenings in the northern states. But upon quote and unquote comparison of the economic loss to the state, the minister in his judgment or in his wisdom decided that the economic benefit outweighs the lives of people. Now 33 people's lives have been lost. Would you say that even one Nigerian or the economical benefit of this outweighs the human life in this regard?
Well, like I always said, the human life is the most precious commodity you can find anywhere. Because where there's life, there's hope, and there are other ways to make a living. But then again, when you look at what the group was demanding, first of all, the reasons by which they based their demands on was insecurity, was attacks on the mines by different groups and criminal elements. And I stated that the Nigerian government should not be held to ransom by a person or any group of persons. It is unfair that the Nigerian government should shut down its activities because of criminal elements or non-state actors. That was what I said, and I still maintain my stance. So beyond economic value, you have to look at the sanctity of the Nigerian state. It's not wise that the Nigerian government should give in to the activities of terror groups, by shutting down these activities because of the activities of persons that do not mean well for the state. What happened with these 30 people is different from what the northern elders were demanding. These 30 people, what I was told was an accident. It was not an intentional, attack, on them. These people were people that were trying to earn a living. They were people that were, trying to earn a living by mining. And then what happened. An unfortunate accident, but an accident nonetheless. But however, what the groups what the northern group was demanding is different from what was taking place here. So yeah, when you look at the two case studies, they're not comparable, right? They're not linked, and I think that they should be treated and discussed separately on the merits of the cases, and rather than linking them up.
Okay. All right. Let's move on quickly. President Bola Tinubu has signed into law the Electoral Act Amendment 2026, saying in Nigeria, electronic transmission of election results is merely supportive and not a replacement for manual transmission. This came on the day former Cross River State resident electoral commissioner Mr. Mike Igini blamed the judiciary for recurring challenges in the electoral system and also faulted the National Assembly's decision to retain manual collation as a backup to electronic transmission of election results in the amended Electoral Act. The signing ceremony took place at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, around 5 p.m., with principal officers of the National Assembly in attendance days after the Independent National Electoral Commission released a timetable for the 2027 general elections. Speaking shortly after assenting to the bill, President Tinubu commended the National Assembly for what he described as a rigorous and patriotic process, stressing that the objective of the reform was to safeguard diplomatic stability and prevent further voter disenfranchisement. The president emphasized that while technology remains important, elections ultimately depended on human management and public trust. According to him, the manual voting and counting process remains central to Nigeria's electoral system, with electronic transmission serving as a support mechanism rather than a replacement. Okay, I feel there's so many contradictions in this statement by the president. First of all, he's saying that let me read the part that I'm most interested in. The president commended the National Assembly for what he described as a rigorous and patriotic process, stressing that the objective of the reform was to safeguard democratic stability and prevent voter disenfranchisement. Now, my question is this. The same people, the same voters that the president is hammering on are the same people who took to the street and asked him that we want you to mandate e-transmission. And then, whether we like it or not, it seems the House of Assembly, the president, whoever signed this into, actually went against the will of the people. Is the president's speech is it not going according, is he not actually acting upon him or acting against himself? Because the people are asking for one thing and then they're being forced to accept another thing.
Okay, well, first of all, you have to look into your definition of the people. To the best of my knowledge, the Nigerian citizens from what 36 state of Nigeria were not present at that protest, which is one. Two, you could see opposition figures, key opposition figures in that protest. And, you know, the influencers and other known faces in that protest, you know, that were not, you know, in the opposition, were supporters of the opposition, and we could see them. So it's normal for opposition to protest against whatever goes on in the government. So there should not be, the actions should not be seen as a presentation of the people's interest.
So you think that it's the opposition that is fighting against this and not majority of the Nigerians?
Well,
so you're saying that the people that hit to the streets or the people commenting on social media are all in the opposition or are all being influenced by the opposition?
Well, if you say the people supporting on social media, well, I've seen some comments. I've not seen the comment of everybody anyway, so I can't speak to social media. But like I said, and I repeat myself, the people I saw that made the protest in the streets, first of all, the protest did not go. It didn't go around 30 states of Nigeria. Tony, I've been in this country and I've seen when the people want to do protest. When they did NSAS protest here in Nigeria in around 2020 or so, you could see how uniform it was. You could see that it happened sequentially in different states of the country at the same time. Right? People took to the street, people came out in their numbers to ensure that...
How did it end?
To ensure that they curb this...
How did it end?
They curb the menace of NSAS.
How did it end? How did it end?
If you're going to use that... Don't digress. I used it as an analogy.
If you're going to use it as an analogy, wouldn't one also say that...
Don't digress.
Due to how the people do not want to get involved when it comes to protests anymore.
When you look at what happened, you know, the protests that happened at the National Assembly. Like I said,
where the people were at the end of the day tear gas by the police as well.
You should not classify opposition people, what are they calling it? The opposition as speaking for the people. You should not tell
me that the people that went to the National Assembly to protest are all members of the opposition. Is that what you want to tell me right now? That
he was there to
support the people. Yes. Okay, so are you trying to tell me that all of these people are members of the opposition? They were organized by the opposition to go and then what?
When you say opposition leaders were there, and they were given prominence by the people that were there.
During the NSAS, didn't we also see prominent political figures there as well? Would you say that then the NSAS were also organized by opposition or political leaders? There was a political protest by the people. From the people. You spoke about the NSAS.
I'm asking you, you said prominent political leaders were there.
Oh, really?
Mention names.
No problem.
No, I want to know now because I can't recall. So you can't recall. No problem.
Let's move on. Like you said, let's not digress. Then, how did that protest at the National Assembly, when they protested against the electronic transmission of the results? Again, whether they were opposition or they were not, are they not citizens of Nigeria? Does that call for them being tear gassed by the police as well?
Well, first of all, what we're talking about is the demands of the demands of the people, right? We're talking about the demands of the people, and I think my statements earlier have made it clear
that it's not the people demanding, but opposition that organize those people against whatever.
Well, I don't know what you saw. I'm trying to tell you
the fact that it didn't happen all around the states in Nigeria. That means that it's just opposition leaders that organized that protest. Did I get you right or not?
Tonya, don't misquote me. What I said, understand by what I said, that people I saw there were opposition leaders and supporters of the opposition. That was people I saw. Right?
And most Nigerians fighting for the electronic transmission of the results.
You could see how the people, the supposed people that were there, rallied around the opposition leaders, and the opposition leaders made statements. So it's obvious that there's a linkage, between the figureheads that were there and the people that were there. You understand me?
All right.
If Nigerians want something, I've been in this country all my life. And I know when the citizens want something. And when they want something, they get it. It's not when the citizens want something, when they demand for something in a singular voice, they get it. But moving on, you could see that, like I said, the National Assembly, a representative of the people. The National Assembly is composed by people representing their constituencies, right? And the people in the National Assembly consult with their constituencies and makes what are they calling it? Laws and regulations, in tune with the reality of their constituencies. So talking about President Tinubu's statements about the National Assembly being patriotic and what have you, the President understands that the legislators are representatives of the people. They are the people that is supposed to carry. They are the people that carry the statements of the people, down to the executives. And they enact laws based on the wishes of the people. So if the president says there's a patriotic act, he's coming from the standpoint that these people are representatives of their people and they are speaking for their people through to him.
All right.
So I don't think the president's statement is wrong, and I don't think it's out of place.
Okay, no problem. Another, again, taking into context what the president said. He emphasized that while technology remains important, elections ultimately depend on human management and public trust. Human management and public trust. Would you say from our past elections that the public have an undeniable trust in our electoral system, that the human management, that when in this context, when it comes to elections in Nigeria, that the humans have been well managed when it comes to our elections, and also, as the president is trying to quote here, is in our electoral process?
Well, Donna, what I would say is that there's no elections that has not been riddled with controversies. Even the best amongst them all. You see people going to courts, people protesting and what have you, regardless of the outcome. You understand me? So I might not be able to speak for the entirety of the Nigerian state, if that's what you're asking me to do. What I know is that in elections, there are people that celebrate, and there are people that cries that they were being disenfranchised, that they were being what are they calling it? There are people that cries that they lost the election and all that, right? So the human management and public trust you're talking about, it depends on which side of the coin you're on. So like I said, I think that should be put into context.
Okay, let's move on. Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Aleke, yesterday closed a mining site over the deaths of villagers in Zurak, Wase local government of Plateau State. According to a statement signed by the Special Assistant on Media to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Shegun Tomori, Aleke, while on a condolence visit to the Governor of Plateau State, ordered the closure of areas covered by mining license 11810, operated by Solid Units Nigeria Limited, owned by Abdullahi Danchina in Zurak, Wase local government of Plateau State, following the deaths of villagers allegedly mining in pits containing gaseous emissions. However, according to the statement, the minister has dispatched a team of officials and investigators led by Permanent Secretary Engineer Yusuf Yabo to probe the remote and immediate causes of incidents and recommend sanctions. The team also includes experts in mining, environmental compliance, and artisanal cooperatives. The minister is coordinating the team and the support services to ensure effective management of the situation. The actions were taken after preliminary reports indicated that the company had ceded the pits where the incident occurred to the community for mining, following villagers' agitations for empowerment. Time and time again, we've seen how companies come into host communities and then maybe due to whatever was signed during their MOUs, decide not to do more than it's been signed into paper. And yeah, I get it. Sometimes it's good to follow procedures. Sometimes when something has been signed, you follow that to the T, especially if you're in the business of making money. But like I pointed out earlier, sometimes these communities or these host communities look at things on the surface because they do not have adequate education on how these activities in their communities can affect them until later, after they've seen the negative impacts on their communities. And sometimes they try to bring these companies to the table and have a conversation, but they standing on the law and whatever was signed during their MOU would want to ignore the people's needs. And then when it happens, like in this instance, the people take things into their own hands and then they bear the cost as well. Summer, what do you have to say about this situation in the northern parts due to mining activities?
Well, like I said, host communities should be more intentional in getting what they want. From the story that is before me, I think that the host community should be more intentional with its advocacy, because an MOU has been signed. The company has started operations, and I think that from what I heard, the company even give them a mining site to mine, as some sort of empowerment. And I think.
But it was with explosives that the people were not even aware of, gas explosives and monoxide and whatnot. So, in this instance, is it for the people or against the people?
What I saw was gaseous substances.
Yes.
And sometimes, from what we read here, I think the problem is that the people did not have sufficient equipment to be able to mine properly in that area, and that led to loss of life. Mm-hmm. So I think that there should be proper communication through the right channels to ensure that the companies are brought, back to the table. These people have representatives. I want to believe they have representatives in government. They should put pressure on their people, to use their influences in the government and whatnot to bring these companies back to the table. Because I think that should be the more rational way, of being able to get these people, back to the table to ensure that they get what is due them, which was not foreseen. at the signing of the MOU. Because if he had, I think if it had been done through that process, maybe the company would, as well as giving them the mining side, the company would have been able to provide sufficient equipment for them to be able to, get into those places. And what the incident that occurred now, wouldn't have occurred. So I think that something like that, should have been done. And I also think that the government, should do more, in protecting, the host communities and the regions where these companies are domiciled.
So then would you say there is a gap between the federal government and these host communities? Because if the governments, whether the state governments or the federal government had interceded during the negotiations before handing them over this mining sites, was the company or were the company aware that it has like gaseous substances in there, and then the people that were given this mining site to do not have the adequate equipment to mine it or protection gears to mine it? If there had been a proper representation either between the state governments, the host communities, and this company, they would have ensured that the mine was safe for the people to go in there and mine. Wouldn't that have been so?
Well, Tuna, like I said, nobody will give you what you did not ask for.
So because I asked for food, you should give me poison?
When you say things like this, I don't know if you're trying to set me up or something.
I'm not setting you up. Some people are not giving. So the people ask for a place to mine. Is that why they were not informed or given the adequate equipment to mine such a dangerous mine?
Sophia, I'm trying to be calm here so that we don't get heated up like we normally do. You see, like I said, if the communication had gone through the channels which I had stated earlier, through representatives of the people in government, I'm sure that would have brought government influence to bear. Like I said, nobody will give you what you did not ask for, regardless, and that's the truth. Nobody will give you what you did not ask for. And sometimes you might be so focused on, getting to a particular point that you forget the processes that leads to that point. Now, what I'm saying is that the community might be so interested in getting access to the mines that they forget that when you have access, there are actually processes to be able to mine effectively, and you're supposed to impute that in your request as well. And let's understand that this company it's focused on making money. First of all, it's focused on making money, and any other activities it would or any other actions it would take that will accommodate the interest of the communities, has to be pressured. It has to come from pressure, pressure to the right places. I'm just being realistic based on the amount of information I know, right? So, if this had been drawn through the representatives of the community in government, I'm sure that the company itself would have been able to respond, appropriately to the demands of the people. Apart from giving them a mining site, a mining ground, they would have also provided, equipment as well as logistics for them to be able to mine effectively, and increase the productivity of the community. So that is my take.
Okay. All right. Turkish ambassador to Nigeria, Mehmet Poroy, says Turkey has a special interest in Nigeria because the two countries are confronted with similar existential challenges in the fight against terrorism. Poroy made this known in an interview with a news agency in Abuja on Wednesday, saying the two countries share an interest in developing effective counter-terrorism strategies. The ambassador said Turkey had successfully fought various terrorist organizations over the years, gaining significant experience, which it was now willing to share with Nigeria, alongside its capabilities and resources. He said Nigeria's success in the fight against terrorism could be crucial to the stability of the entire West African sub-region and Africa as a whole. I mean, I would have to agree with him on that, on the last sentence, where if Nigeria should prevail against terrorism, it would serve a great purpose to West Africa and Africa as a whole. But my interest in this is, what is Turkey's business with Nigeria? Do they want to use Nigeria as a gateway into other African countries as well? I mean, we are the giants of Africa. So if they can help Nigeria, would that also pave the way for them to, you know, get involved with other African countries as well?
Well, as for Turkey's interest, what I know is that Turkey and Nigeria has engaged in intense diplomatic relations in recent times, which led to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, you know, visiting Turkey to talk about security issues, as well as, you know, bring back investments that are good for the economy. So I think that Turkey's interest is as a result of the discussions they've had with Nigeria and the support and intel they're willing to share with Nigeria to be able to deal with these issues. Because they said if you want to go somewhere, you should consult somebody who has been there before. So Turkey has faced these challenges and they have, you know, battled them substantially. And I think that sharing drawing from their wealth of experience, you know, is not really a bad option to take. And we should apply all reasonable actions to deal with these insurgents once and for all.
Okay, now we've seen U.S. also trying to help Nigeria fight terrorism. Now Turkey is also showing interest. Would you say that this could work in favor of Nigeria if we have different allies in the fight against terrorism instead of heavily relying on one country against the other?
Well, I'm not the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm not part of the Security Council. And I'm sure that the President and the Security Council are better informed about the security needs of the Nigerian people. So if they say the way to go is by consulting, you know, multiple states who have experience in handling things like this in a bid to put an end to the problem once and for all, then I should be able to trust in the leadership of the country and hope that the actions will lead to the end of the whole insurgent activities.
Okay, then again, do you think it can also affect our relationship with the U.S. as well? If we find ourselves aligning with Turkey, would the U.S. or the Western world, the Western countries, have a problem with that?
From my knowledge of international relations, there are two power blocks. There are two major power blocks in international politics. Sorry, there are three blocks. We have the East Bloc, we have the Western Bloc, and then we have non-aligned nations. African countries, South Asia countries fall under the nomenclature of non-aligned nations. You know, that means we're not aligned to either the Eastern Bloc or the Western Bloc. And I don't see how it's a problem, you know, for Nigeria to seek help from, you know, multiple countries across different blocks in a bid to solve its challenges, because we have not been aligned to any particular bloc.
Okay. Thank you very much, Simone, for bringing your wealth of knowledge into today's discussion.
Thank you very much, Tonya, for having me.
Always a pleasure. This is where we wrap it up on this segment of Blowout. We are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, X, Atlantic TV Nets. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Open conversation comes up shortly. Please don't go away. Thank you for watching. I am Antonia Arsabil.